When an airline goes bankrupt, what really happens to passengers? Flights are canceled, refunds become uncertain, and thousands are left stranded. I'm Joanna from AirAdvisor, and in this video, we'll explain exactly how airline insolvency works and what your rights are if it happens to you. So what does it mean when an airline goes bankrupt? Well, when an airline files for bankruptcy, it simply means they can't pay what they owe. But that doesn't automatically mean all operations stop overnight. There are two possible paths an airline might take in this situation. Reorganization, known in the United States as Chapter 11, allows the airline to keep operating while it restructures its finances. In this scenario, your upcoming flights might still go ahead, though there's no guarantee. Then there's complete shutdown, often called liquidation or Chapter 7. That's when the airline ceases operations entirely. Flights are canceled, employees are laid off, and customers are left with no direct point of contact. If that happens, you're usually stuck seeking refunds or reimbursements from credit card companies, travel insurers, or package travel schemes rather than the airline itself. And, as we've seen in recent years, with dozens of carriers including Silver Airways in late 2024, this isn't as rare as it used to be. Airline bankruptcy rights in the UK. Now, if you're flying in or from the UK, your rights depend on whether the airline is still operating when the disruption occurs. If the airline is still flying while restructuring, then you're covered by UK Regulation 261, which protects passengers for flight delays and cancellations. So, if your flight is disrupted during that period, you're still entitled to compensation and care as normal. But if the airline has fully stopped operating, other protections kick in. The first is Section 75 of the Consumer Credit Act. This applies if you bought your ticket directly from the airline using a credit card, and the price was between £100 and £30,000. Under Section 75, your card provider becomes equally responsible for the purchase, meaning they're legally obliged to give you a full refund if the airline goes bust. However, there are limits. Section 75 does not apply if you used a debit card or if you booked through a travel agent or a third-party website. The second layer of protection comes from ATOL, or the Air Travel Organizer's License Scheme. This only applies if your flight was booked as part of a package holiday with a UK licensed tour operator. If you're abroad when your airline collapses, ATOL covers the cost of getting you back to the UK. If your trip hasn't started yet, it guarantees a full refund for the flight or the package itself. So what are your airline bankruptcy rights in the EU? Well, across the European Union, EU Regulation 261 governs flight disruptions, but its protections stop short when it comes to insolvency. So if your flight is cancelled because the airline has gone bankrupt, it's classed as an extraordinary circumstance, and the carrier is no longer obliged to provide compensation or a refund directly. However, if your flight was part of a package holiday, you're protected by the EU Package Travel Directive. This guarantees a refund or rebooking with another airline, and in many cases, your travel company will handle everything for you. If you booked your flight directly with the airline, your best options are to use a credit card chargeback or a travel insurance claim, assuming your policy includes scheduled airline failure insurance, sometimes called SAFI, or financial default coverage. Unfortunately, passengers in the United States have far fewer protections when airlines go bankrupt. First, there are no federal laws guaranteeing refunds or rebookings in these situations. Under normal conditions, the U.S. Department of Transportation requires airlines to refund canceled flights, but those rules don't apply once a carrier enters bankruptcy proceedings. If the airline files under Chapter 11, there is a chance operations will continue and refunds may still be processed. But if the airline liquidates entirely, there's no legal guarantee that passengers will get their money back. Otherwise, you may have to file a claim in bankruptcy court as an unsecured creditor, and realistically, most passengers never recover their money doing that. So what steps should you take if your airline suddenly collapses and your flight's canceled? Well, first, check your travel insurance. Some policies include airline bankruptcy coverage, but not all. If it is included, your insurer can often arrange rebooking or reimburse your unused ticket. Next, look for rescue fares, also called distress fares. These are discounted tickets offered by other airlines to stranded passengers. You can usually find details through travel news sites, social media, or the bankrupt airline's last public updates. If those aren't available, you may have to purchase a new ticket and request a refund later through your credit card provider. If you used a credit card, you can file either a Section 75 claim in the UK or a chargeback request in the UK, EU, or US to recover the amount. Just remember that banks have different time limits for these claims, typically 120 days after the scheduled flight date. In the UK and EU, you can also claim through ATOL or the Package Travel Directive if your flight was booked as part of a package holiday. These systems are designed to protect passengers exactly in these situations. There are a few ways to spot financial trouble with airlines before they actually go bankrupt. Airline bankruptcies rarely come out of nowhere. There are usually warning signs, and if you know what to look for, you can often avoid getting caught in the middle of one. Here are a few red flags to look out for. First, the airline frequently cancels or changes routes with little notice. There are also reports of unpaid staff or suspending share trading. The airline might stop offering long-term bookings, or they might block certain destinations on their website, and customer support becomes increasingly unresponsive. If you notice any of these signs, avoid booking directly with that carrier, or at least pay with a credit card and check that your travel insurance covers financial failure. It's a small step, but it can save you a major headache later. Have you ever been in a situation where your airline goes bankrupt? If you have, let us know in the comments. And if you've had a canceled or refund refused because of an airline collapse, you can always check your rights and start a claim at AirAdvisor. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.